Hello there, everyone. I am Joan Turner of the GHAA, which is a Greater Havel Arts Association, and welcome to another installment of our virtual GHAA demo series. Okay, and as usual, we have some very awesome people for you to meet person. Okay, and we always end up with the best artists in the area. And today is no different. Okay, today we're going to introduce you, if you don't already know, Doris Rice. Her preferred studio is the great outdoors. Okay, painting on location is her inspiration, staying in the moment. She captures the world around her. It's an exciting challenge and it's ever changing. She's a graduate of Moore College of Art in Philadelphia. Early years were spent working as an illustrator for advertising and publishing, which is no easy thing. In 1979, relocated from Philly to Northampton, New Hampshire. She changed her focus to plein air painting, traveling to study with various master painters, and developing her teaching style to bring others to the joy of creating. She's a gifted teacher teaching relaxation with the process and encouraging experimentation to find your own style, which is a really, really nice thing for any teacher to do. So we're super impressed with her. Her works are available at the Kennedy Gallery in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, the Wood Gallery in Coronado, California, Seacoast Artists Association in Exeter, Images are available on her website at www.dorisrice.com, glimmerglassart.com, lightshipeditions.com. So she is absolutely accessible. Seacoast Artists Association online gallery. She teaches adult classes. So if you're interested in classes, she has 2 classes per week online via Zoom right now. Other classes in Portsmouth, Exeter, New Hampshire, and Kittery, Maine. This chick gets around. I like it. I like it. Um, Workshops, plein air is on location. They're available in many locations across the USA and Europe. I talk about a class trip. I'm liking it. So you want to see her website for details. 2021, she'll be at Cape Cod, Mohegan Island, Maine. If I said it right, Monhegan, Landgrove, Vermont, Seacoast, New Hampshire, Star Island, Isle of Shoals, New Hampshire, Maine, and Brittany, France. I'm gonna I like that idea. Even Tuscany, Italy. Artist in resident projects for schools, mentoring for degree students, for current information and workshops, classes and paintings. Again, visit her on her website, www.dorisrice.com. Okay, no spaces. Okay, so without further ado, we introduce to you, if you don't already know her, Miss Doris Rice.
Hello, everybody. Doris Rice is my name. There I am. You just had an intro telling you a little bit about my background. And I have to say again, I'm passionate about watercolor. Yeah, I've tried other mediums and gone here and there, but I have to tell you, watercolor is a never ending story. I did start it when I was a kid at the Courier in Manchester. That's a magnificent museum, by the way.
I,
Tiny, beautiful.
I have not been there, but I have a cousin who lives in that area, and I keep saying I'm going to. As I was
They
reading your bio, you have been all over the place, woman.
Yes, yes,
Good
yes.
for you.
Travel is very fun, and I stayed close to home when the kids were little.
Mhm.
But as they grew, I guess I stayed close to home when they were in college. Time you
Just
have to
in
watch them.
case. You never
But
know when they need money, you know? Send me some money, Mom.
yeah,
Mhm.
hopefully never needing bailing out. That's a no-no.
That's a plus. That's a plus.
So I'm going to take down the sign. You don't really need this. I do want you at some point to look up my website. If you have your own website, it's fun to look at other people's,
Mhm.
see the choices they made. But on here, I talk about my classes, my travels. The travels are really nice to be able to go somewhere, live together as a group, and all we do is paint.
Well, I was,
Paint, paint, paint.
I'm thinking to myself, what a cool class trip that must be. So
Oh,
when you go to these awesome places, how long are you there? And do you go with a group or you take a,
I sign up a group. Yep. They, for the most part, they're run by me, but occasionally, like there's a place called Land Grove, Vermont. He likes to run it himself.
Mhm.
He does the whole package with the food and everything. So
Okay,
I'll take between 5 or 6 is a smaller group, and 10,
nice.
12 would be the biggest. And it's destination. I pick
Hmm.
you up in Florence, or I pick you up, at the boat in Monhegan,
Oh my
and
God, I love that.
however you
How
want it.
long are these trips? How long are these trips?
7 days for American ones, which usually means 5 days of painting and a day on either end to travel or
Travel, look around.
hang out.
That is so cool. That is so cool. So that information, are you still doing those? And is that information on your website?
Yes. Last year was
Okay.
a sad year.
Uh,
2020, there were only a couple of workshops that
mhm,
I could travel to in America.
mhm.
But this year, I'm waiting for Europe to open up. But I do have Vermont and Star Island, Isles of Shoals, Monhegan, definitely.
Love
And
it. Love it.
when I can get on a plane, I'll do Florida and California
Hmm.
and Michigan.
I actually was on a plane to Florida 2 weeks ago, so you can get to Florida. Have to wear a mask, and if you fall asleep on the plane, they wake you up if your mask falls down. But okay,
Good. I'm glad to hear it. The more
yeah.
things I hear about how safe it is, the
Hmm.
better I'll feel. I'm all
Right,
done with my
right.
shots,
Good
so
girl.
I am happy with that.
Yeah.
So now onward, all that info is online, and if it's incorrect, I mean, I'm really bad with numbers. If you feel like, oh, she just didn't write that down right, um, send me an email.
Oh,
I
please,
need, I need all,
you know we will. You know we will.
I
Doris,
need.
what does this mean? We're excited. We're excited for your demo.
Okay.
Watercolors are considered one of the more challenging of mediums.
Yes.
So, yeah, we want to know all about it. What you use. What's today's demo going to be?
Okay, today we are going to do several fundamentals of painting and
Hmm,
how they apply to watercolor, what the materials do to help you
cool.
and hinder you. You have to
Mhm.
learn, you have to learn control. And why does watercolor get such a bad rap? Why do people say, oh, I don't want to try watercolor, that's just too hard? It's not hard. But are piano lessons hard? Maybe.
Yes.
You have to structure, any music is very much like creating art.
Hmm.
You need to practice, and the practice, you keep doing it, and all of a sudden, from way back behind there, somewhere intuitively, a
Kicks
miracle
in.
will happen. It'll
And
happen.
that's what it feels like too. Oh my God, I got it. Yeah.
So this is number one mandatory.
Hmm.
You should have your sketchbooks out.
Good
You
girl.
should be taking notes.
Hmm.
If you are a crazy doodler, go ahead and do my portrait.
Hmm.
Um, See what you can do to glean information, technical information, and write it down. DATE. Put the date on it. Without the date, you just go back into your history and you look at things and you go, when did I
Hmm.
do that? When did I saw that woman before? When did I see her? So I'm getting rid of the big board.
Okay.
Often I'll do sketches on that just to.
What a nice house. Look at all those plants. Nice.
I'm a plant lady
A
in the
plant
in,
lady.
in the other world. Oh dear, I thought I put that on silent.
You know what? Mine isn't on silent either. Now that you did that, I'm going to put mine on.
All right. Whoever that was, they're
Whoever
quiet
that
now.
was. Mhm.
So, okay, I'm going to tilt this. You don't have to look at my spiral staircase. Okay, let's start. I'm going to give you some rules and regs about the control part. And this is water. Well, let me show you my setup here. I have a field palette, and the field palette is simply a palette that will close. So there it is. It's a box.
So this is for your plein air painting
Yes, and
trips.
I use it all the time.
Hmm.
Studio palettes, I really don't have a need for
Okay.
because I've got enough mixing space, and my little tofu dish is there. And the what's nice about a tofu dish? How silly. First of all, you have to eat the tofu, which I like, but this is important. It's flat and it just sits flat. It's enough water that I can get through a good portion of my painting. Um, so that's kind of cool. Let me tilt that up one more degree. There we go. All right, so I just have this little scrappy paper because I want to talk to you about number one, watercolor paper. You can
Yay.
buy the spiral bound pads of
Mhm.
140-pound watercolor paper. Yeah, they're okay, but they are made from paper. They are tree pulp. Paper pulp is not friendly, not as friendly as it should be.
Mm.
Texture might be there, but it dries too fast. You can't get the same watercolor control. So what I'd like you to try, these are little exercises. The stages of water. How much water is in your brush? Your brush should be wet.
What's the difference between cold press and hot press paper?
Ah, good question. Good question. Cold press is run through cold rollers. And so it has a slight, they squeeze it through a roller and it makes a
Uh-huh.
texture. Rough, by the way, rough is the least, it's difficult because it's the least squeezed. So as they run it through, it's squeezed less. So it feels thicker and it has more bumps. I call it my Robert Redford skin. We all know him. Although, am I dating myself? I was going to say Richard Burton, but
Oh, well, yeah,
all you kids don't even know who he is anymore.
you're right. They don't. It's always
But
shocking to me.
that texture, the pock marking is significant. Rough is not squeezed.
Mhm.
Cold press is slightly squeezed, and hot is run through hot rollers so that it's ironed.
So which one is this?
This one is cold press
Okay.
140,
Okay.
and my Kilimanjaro happens to be made in Italy. Fabriano, Italy. Windsor Newton is Windsor and Newton, made in England.
Uh-huh.
Watman, Sanders, England. There's so many brands, but all of these, let me tell you, they're all good quality paper.
Nice.
You just need to buy the paper. If you can get together and buy 10 sheets together, you get a
Mhm.
better price. But I buy 100 sheets at a time.
Oh,
And I'm
God love you.
sure anybody that can drive through my driveway, I leave it right outside. You can buy 5 sheets at any point. And
Wow.
by getting 100 at a time, it can be available for $5 a sheet. Whereas if you only buy a couple, or if you go to
Mhm.
Michael's or something, it's just not going to be the same price. So
All
get it
right,
cheap.
right. Buying in bulk is always better. Now, what
Yep.
about, I know I'm excited to have you start, but now most artists I notice use 140 pound, but there's Arches paper that's 300, and that I've actually put acrylic on and oil, and that stuff
Okay.
is really,
They all, I forgot, how could I not mention Arches? And in the olden days, it was D apostrophe
yeah.
ARCH. It was Darche or
Oh,
Darche.
okay. Yeah.
That is the paper from France versus Italy,
Ah, okay.
England, all the same. Arches has more sizing of a certain nature so that when you're painting and you're sniffing, the paper smells like socks, wet socks. Okay, let me go worse. It smells like a locker room. And that's
I love
simply
it.
the like rabbit glue, the sizing, the starch that they put in the paper. 140 pound. What does that mean? That's just the weight of a certain number of sheets of paper. They're all the same size. So that's the weight of 100, it's
Right.
140 pounds for this many
To
pages.
press it, right? They refers to how much pressure they use to press the paper,
Yeah.
correct?
That's the hot,
Yeah.
cold, and
Okay.
rough. Now, 300-pound is double thick.
Yeah.
So 300-pound is going to be thicker.
Yeah.
You can take any of these and gesso them,
Hmm.
and that'll make it thicker by nature.
Sure.
Gesso and paint on top of the gesso,
Mm,
just for fun,
it's
just
for
to see
fun.
what happens.
Right?
But the 300-pound, a lot of people will use that specifically because it's hard as a board and they
Yeah.
love it. This is a backer board.
Mhm.
This is just a piece of foam core coated with packing tape. See how shiny it is?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
The packing tape protects the board. When I soak this, when I super
Uh-huh.
soak the paper, the packing tape protects it. So
Oh, what a good tip.
you
Because
do
I
not,
always ruin mine big time. So I
yep,
put packing tape, cover it with packing tape.
even if you take the back of an Arches pad
Uh-huh.
or anything, if it's not plasticized,
Mm,
water will bend it,
sure.
it'll flex and throw it away.
Yeah.
So I take these and, a whole big 30 by 40 sheet of foam core costs $5 or $6.
Yeah.
So you can get several of these out of it. You can have a full sheet board. You can have a bunch of quarter sheet boards. Just leave them. Go
Cool.
on a trip. When you'd rather bring things home from Italy, you bring things home, an
Uh-huh.
extra bottle of olive oil, and leave the
And
board
leave the
behind.
foam core board. All
It's
right. I like it. Good tip.
$2.
Good tip.
Yeah, it's fun. Paint. Paint, there are many name brands, Jerry's Artorama, Cheap Joe's Art Supplies, Daniel Smith. These guys carry pro stuff. So, and they also, Cheap Joe has a catalog that labels it. This is
Oh,
student grade, this is professional grade. Buy the professional, at least ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, the colors that you use every day. Buy the good tubes. The miscellaneous tubes, they're called Academy,
yeah.
Coleman. These are name brand companies, but they put more mayo in the lobster salad. I don't want
Yeah,
mayo. I want my lobster. So
that's it.
go for the lobster and skip the mayo. It'll cost you twice as much, but
Yep.
you'll use less because it's more concentrated.
So go pro.
Go pro.
Go pro, baby.
Pro, artist level or artist grade, professional. It just means it's a better quality. It doesn't mean that you have to say, oh, I'm a professional artist.
Right. You get
Get
that.
over that.
That's
I mean,
I tell my students buy the best quality materials you can afford. You can't
it,
go wrong with that.
it's hard enough
Yeah.
to watercolor.
Hmm.
So I want you to use it and have better results. Squeeze more. Don't go
Right.
after the little dry, crunchy pieces of. I mean, I do dampen my watercolors before I use them, but if
Hmm.
you have to touch more than 3 or 4 times,
Yeah.
it's not wet enough. And
Okay.
eventually, oh, geez, there's another one. Eventually,
You are one busy lady.
oh, I think it's all telemarketing. It
Well,
used to
yeah.
be political.
Mhm. And yeah, I know
Uh,
it's telemarketers.
So all of this paint that we squeeze
Hmm.
out more on top, more on top. And when it starts to crumble, like before you go on a workshop, maybe scrape out, use a knife and scrape out and get rid of the crumbly stuff because you'll get crumbles in your paint. It
That's
won't,
exactly what happens.
yeah. So eventually you have to scrape it out, but oh well. I draw constantly. I love my round brush. It's an extension of my hand. Nylon brushes are fine. They're
Hmm.
stiff. A number 10 is my favorite, and it can be, you can buy them for as little as $5 from Cheap Joe's, and they're fabulous brushes. I walk around with 20 extra brushes all the time because when I see somebody who's it's like drawing with a boot on. If you can't get a good point,
Uh-huh.
well, how frustrating.
Yeah.
This is why kids don't really like painting, because it's like painting with boots on. It's not right. You
Yeah.
want a point. Flat brushes, all you really have to have is a 1 inch flat. But if I can get you to get a long flat,
Yeah.
it's called a 1-stroke. And the 1-stroke is fantastic. A regular one is like that. It's
Yeah.
1 inch and 1 inch. But the long one, called a 1-stroke, and they're all different companies make them. This is the Robert Simmons color. Um, as you lay the brush on, it has more filament here,
Uh-huh.
more bristle, and it can hold water longer.
You know
Um,
something? I have one of those brushes. I had no idea why it was longer. So it holds the water longer?
has more water in it.
Ah,
And you will
okay.
find the same. You don't have to have a rigger brush,
Hmm.
but if you have, okay, let me get this in front of the camera. This is a 4. I suppose I have a 2 somewhere, but the little brushes need to be longer to carry more water also. I'll just use this to show you. This is the
Okay.
length of a standard brush,
Hmm.
and the rigger brushes are going to be extra long, like like Dolly's mustache, that incredible point. This is
Yes.
like the Dolly mustache. It holds more water because it's longer,
Yeah.
and it's called a rigger. It's for rigging a boat. Put it in
Yes.
mast, pull, and it doesn't run out of paint. Whereas the smaller brush cannot carry that much pigment. So
Huh.
you have to dip and back and dip and back.
Got it. Got it.
Great brush.
Yeah, that's a good brush. I have some of those. I
Do
have some of
not
those
ruin your
babies.
painting with it.
Yeah. Yep.
It can ruin. I know I keep picking this up because I'm so excited to get going. So, what you need to know is how much water is in your brush. How do you know that? You know because you've learned. My paper towel is part of my equipment. It's either in my pocket or right here. And I always wear black socks so that if I'm in an emergency situation, I can lift my sock and quick tap it off of my sock. Sometimes water gets the better of me. So water on your brush is one thing. Water in the paint. Is there a little bit of water sitting on your paint? Is it a little soggy? Be
Hmm.
careful. You want paint that you touch and you can move it over to here. That's dry.
Hmm.
That's dry paint. If I have a whole bunch of water in my paint, that is going to dry lighter, even though it looks darker. You don't put a lot of water in your brush and a lot of water in the paint.
Yeah.
You need more control.
Hmm.
That is if you wash. If the paper's wet, then you count on that to give you flow.
Hmm.
So wet paper, wet brush, wet paint. Um, and notice what I'm doing. I'm
Yeah.
The angle of the board is part of the chemistry of this whole thing.
Hmm.
You will get flow because of all that. And the flow is just, it's so exciting. You also can work. I am standing at an easel, and people say, oh, I couldn't possibly paint vertical. It
I was
all
just going to say a lot of watercolorists will only do flat.
flat is flat is flat.
Yeah.
Flat means you're going to do this.
Yeah. Yep.
And look at your back, look at your
Yeah.
shoulders. It's not good. You can stand up and stretch, but if you can learn to work on a tilt
Yep.
or an angle, boy, does that help. When you're working outside, it does help to have a vertical format because you are looking through at the subject.
Mhm.
So you're designing your house, your tree, your page, and you're looking on the same plane as what you're designing.
Nice.
So vertical works, but it has to move. If you
Hmm.
can't run down, you can't have Niagara Falls. Well, you can, but you'll be
Can, but
mad. You'll be really mad, and then you'll say, I hate watercolor. Okay. Bigger brushes are for bigger paintings.
hmm
Littler brushes, little paintings. So there's no evil, wicked, tiny brush. It's
oh,
just keep the tiny brush for the little things, for the details,
details.
for the
Yep.
end of the painting. Or what if you're trying to do a miniature painting? Of course you need small brushes.
Right.
So the basic brushes are like a 10, 12, 14 round for a bigger sheet. And this is only a 1.5. I have a 2.
hmm
Um, my favorite brushes are the Van Hasselt brushes, which are, they call them magic muslin.
Ah,
Great
okay.
little handle, short handle,
Yeah.
magic muslin. It's more expensive, and the Robert Simmons are more expensive. You can
hmm
buy lesser grade as long as it comes from a reputable art supply company, or get a recommendation. Write,
Right. Right.
say,
Right.
which brush should I be using for this? I'll write you back. I'll tell you.
Yes.
It's so easy to communicate about materials, and it's so easy to be intimidated by technical talk.
Sure.
The
Sure.
Van Hasselt muslin brush is the greatest wetting tool.
Hmm.
So I'm going to do a wet, and I turned the board upside down, and I'm going to saturate like really wet. This brush holds a ton of water. Of course, you can't see the water.
Yeah, actually, you can. It has. There's a little bit of a glare where you're putting the water, so we can
Okay.
see it, honey.
Okay, so as I'm wetting, here's one of the problems I have. People say to me, but I wet it. And I say, but it's drying. It's drying too fast. It's not wet. But I wet it. Yeah, so you need to saturate wet.
Mm.
Now, what I'm going to have you look for is development of a roll. I'm wetting almost to the edges, but I'm not going to paint to the edges. I'm just giving myself, this is the sky, giving myself water. Look what's happening.
Yeah, it's bubbling. It's
A bump.
rolling. Yep.
It's got a full belly. It just
I
Thanksgiving dinner.
was gonna
The
say, I know the
more,
feeling. Ah,
the more you wet it, the better it feels.
okay.
So now here's a problem. If it's wet and you can drip the water off it,
hmm
that's too wet.
Okay.
So once again, the angle, how much water we're putting on, it's serious stuff. Now, I've been holding it this way, so of course it's going to be drier here than here. So
hmm
now I'll put it this way.
Ah, okay.
I'm using gravity as a tool.
Very
And this is
cool.
why when you put it on a backer board, you can pick it up. I would not fix it to a table. You're not going to
hmm
lift a cardboard table. I mean, a card table. You're just not going to. Done. Done.
Done.
Okay. You can use a flat brush and dip the corner into the paint, or you can use a round brush and dip
The
the top into the
point.
brush.
Okay.
So right now we are mixing on the paper. So there's quite a river of paint on there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to turn it back the other way, and this is called growing trees. I'll start right here. And what I'm counting on is the water in the paper. Not too much water and not too much in my brush. Okay, turn them back this way. I don't want them to escape on me. Blue, ultramarine blue. By the way, look at how it's not coming down the page.
I was just gonna say it stays right at the boundary, right where you put it.
Secret. One of the
Secret.
big secrets of watercolor. Water only goes where the paper is wet.
Yeah.
Fuzzy, fuzzy, fuzzy.
hmm
A little dry there. I can see the dry. It skips a little. maybe I didn't wet it enough right there. So this whole process, that's the end.
Mhm.
This whole process, ultramarine blue. I touched alizarin. I'm putting some brown into it. Um, some people are going to go straight to Payne's Gray. There's a little indigo Payne's Gray. Ooh, that's going to have to be a future ski hill.
That's good. That's good because it lets people, because it's bound to happen. So this way they know what can we do here now.
Look at that.
Yeah,
You can erase anything if you get going.
yeah.
So I will use the towel to lift that. It'll have a ghost of a color, but I don't really want more water to flow down into it.
Uh-huh.
So I know I'm going to have a line there. So here are my trees. My trees are magnificent, hunky, huge things. If you hold it sideways,
Uh-huh.
it's really fun. But look what happens to the trees.
Oh yeah.
They're crabbing. These are crabbing a little, just a little.
Just a little. A
They
little,
also
little too
will
much to
be.
drink.
Oh, don't ski next to that guy. Okay, watch out for this, the
Uh-huh.
verticality of it.
Yeah.
This is one giant orchestration, more color in it, but it will always be vertical. So you have to widen the base,
Mhm.
turn it back over, push them back down again. Oh, I'm needing some of that burnt umber. Umber is a yellow brown. It's a very warm brown.
Mhm.
Sienna is a red brown.
Yeah.
So you can go back and forth and have them mix back and forth. Look at the
Now, are you
shade.
putting water on your brush before you pick up paint?
Yes, I am
Okay.
keeping it wetter.
Bit wet.
I call it keep it wetter longer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, ooh, some nice values in the red. Forgot
Yeah.
to put some red in here. This is hurry up and get it in before it dries. But then if you rush the process, you're in trouble also.
So
Look,
what kind of red is this? It's not crimson. It's got to be
yes. No, that was alizarin crimson.
alizarin. There we go.
Here's some phthalo green.
Nice.
Oh, I've got some pregnancy going on there.
I you know, that's
Unwanted,
great. I love it. My paints
unwanted.
are pregnant.
Yeah, yeah. Just watch out because they'll do things that you don't appreciate.
Yeah, you have to keep your eye on those babies.
And you know, the bigger the page, the
Mm-hmm.
harder this is
Sure.
because you definitely don't want tilt, but you
Mm-hmm.
don't want things too straight. You want fuzz, movement. I don't want striped trees. I don't want it to look like seersucker. Well, what do I want? I don't know. I want it happening.
We want it all.
Right in the middle, it's just starting to hold its own shape.
Uh-huh.
That's telling me I'm drying. I'm a little drier.
So is that okay? Now, how
Well,
if it's dry, how do you re-wet it? You don't spray
you
it
don't.
because then you're moving your paint all over the place, right?
This is a one-time happening. This is
Ah,
get it, get it in there. I'm playing Russian roulette over on that side. My tree's holding more shape.
uh-huh.
And it's the same with the sky. Give your sky 15 minutes. Work it, work it, work it. Don't try to rush it. I'm still watching. If that's active, I can't leave that. That's a 2-year-old. That will ruin my painting.
All right.
Make sure that the 2-year-old doesn't get out of his crib.
And mine's always escaping.
I
Right.
have I have an 18-month-old grandson, and
Ah,
I just can't get over what he does.
they're amazing, amazing, amazing.
So I'm adding, but what happens if I add water now and it
Mm-hmm.
pushes up?
Mm-hmm.
It will explode. It'll
Yeah.
explode and it won't be a happy story. So I'm
Okay.
letting this move a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And there is nothing up here per se. There
Uh-huh.
might be a little dirty water, but There really shouldn't be. It's still bumpy, a little
Mhm.
bumpy
Mhm.
because of the uneven wet.
Yeah.
To counteract the uneven wet, you keep it moving.
Mhm.
That's your job. I'm
So
going
you
to,
really do have to keep moving that around. I see you moving that upside down, sideways, right side up.
not too happy with all this.
Uh-huh.
So that was a rub.
Uh-huh.
If you really want it back to nothing, you can get out Mr. Clean Magic Eraser.
Yes, yes, you know that trick. I love it.
But you know what? Mr. Clean Magic Eraser is abrasive.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right,
if
right.
you would like just a little bit of a wash,
Mm-hmm.
just carefully use nylons, use your soft paper towels.
Uh-huh.
That's going to work for me later. So I
Yeah. Yeah, it
need
looks like
that.
a little hill.
All right,
So,
there's one more degree of cascade, which
okay.
is creating its own little story here.
Mm-hmm.
Now what I'm going to do is give you more closer. Whoops, near. So how do I get more upfront in this with value?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to take less water in my paint,
Mm-hmm.
and right in here, there will be, I'm dabbing, da 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 da. There will be a stronger tree,
Tree.
and maybe another one. You can get tree happy. Oh, that was so fun. I want to do another one.
I can do the whole thing like this.
Yeah, just be careful. But
Yeah.
look at the depth of field you achieve.
Sure. Sure.
Depth of field through value.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, one more. I'm allowed. I'm allowed.
We can't resist.
One more.
Addiction, addiction.
Just try not to put them in the dead center.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Try to give yourself a little movement in the picture. Yeah, they're kind of blue.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay.
Okay. Yeah. Good.
I'm not unhappy with blue. Okay, that is dry enough. It's not moving too much. So I'm going to go play in another field.
Now I have a sky question. Now
Yes.
there isn't any sky behind there, correct?
No, it's a day like today. White sky.
White sky. Okay. What if you wanted to put a sky back there? Would you have to do that first, let it dry, and then do what you did?
You can put some in as long as this is darker than the sky
Okay.
that you chose.
Okay.
Um, I will be putting a mountain range,
Oh, okay.
but
Cool.
that'll have to be done very carefully.
Yeah, I bet.
So I didn't leave much space for it. So the foreground, I'm going to use my blue water. My water is a little on the dirty side. That's what color it is.
Uh-huh.
It's toned. So rather than change my water, what I'll do is a wet, maintaining a gap. I don't want to touch. Oh my goodness. Whatever you do, don't touch the upper part. It'll hemorrhage.
Uh-huh.
You know that. Water
I
only
do
goes
know
where
that.
it's
I
wet.
do know that. I'm a victim.
You will be so mad. And, acknowledging these things really helps your paint.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm maintaining an edge just because I can. I'm wetting. Now I'm going for value. This was 2, 3, 4, all the way up to like 7, 8.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to
Different
give
values.
us snow shadows, which are almost insignificant today. Your snow shadow will be grayish. Your snow shadow will not be yellow. Let me tell you,
Good, good,
no
good.
yellow snow, no
Not
yellow.
no yellow snow. So
It's
did you saturate this pot the same way you did the other pot? Because now this one has a bubble too. So you put the same amount of water saturated?
nope, not as heavy
Okay.
and not as much not as much pigment in my paint.
Okay.
So this is just to close the painting, to close it off so that I don't have white paper running off the page.
Okay.
This is my painting and my thought. That doesn't mean that you have to save any white edge. It's too cool to save it. Just a little ghost down here, down here. And you know what I call that? A hip check.
Hip check.
Hip check. This is, we're into the guys
Hockey.
sliding down the hockey thing, and they don't have to stick at somebody. All they have to do is
A little bump.
and bump. A little bump right there stops you from leaving the page.
Yeah, I
Just
like
a
it.
little fun bump.
A little hip bump. I love it.
And you can see it's rolled. There's
Mhm.
actually a shadow on there.
Yeah.
Now this is still too wet and this is wet. So it's a good time for a coffee break, or what I'm going to do is escape and hair dryer dry this a little.
Okay.
I'll be right back. It takes maybe 3 minutes to dry that.
Okay. With a magic, it'll seem instantaneous.
All right, we're dry. This is kind of exciting. How do you know it's dry? Because you put your cheek on it and it's not ice, wet, cold, and you also don't get paint on yourself. So that's a good test.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also, it's kind of dry. You can feel it. Just make sure you're not, if it's wet anywhere and you're transferring paint, you have to be careful. Third way to notice, besides hands and face touch, is look at the paper. It has curled the other way.
Yes. Yep.
So the paint and the water have changed the sizing in the paper. And instead of humping for Thanksgiving dinner, now you've got this nice, 2-week diet thing going on. Really suck the paper in. This paper is rag. It is 100% either cotton or cotton silk. It works like a t-shirt, but the magic of it is the sizing they put in it. So great.
Nice.
Aerial perspective is a choice. You can have distance, and there are different ways of doing it. Leonardo started doing it. Nobody did it in the Renaissance. Everything was just flat.
Flat, right.
One of the reasons they go crazy over Leonardo, because he will have value changes. The background will be lighter, bluer, meaning less color, less vivid color, bluer or grayer, smaller, of course. Anything far away is going to be little, anything up close. We learned that in Sesame Street. And let's see, what else is there? There's size. Oh, texture. If there are ski hills, you won't see them so distinctly. They'll be there, but they really won't show up as much as if you're really close.
Yeah.
And you go light to dark. That's one of the rules of watercolor. Hey, you can break any rule you want. You just have to get away with it. So water is a factor right now. That's a wet mountain. If I put a tree in the foreground, my tree is going to fuzz where it's touching the wet. So dry, wet, those are interesting things you have to deal with. Middle ground will be just kind of middle values. These are shapes of hills and so forth. Lighter, which can include the sky. Sky's an exception. You can have an extraordinary storm coming.
Sure.
I don't know who's going to want to buy that picture. They want to be scared.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah. Fuss with it, bring it closer, zigzag where you can. It does help. That's just a little leftover paint that I'm picking up from my very messy palette. Foreground can carry the lightest lights, darkest darks. And here comes a tree. One of my favorite fir tree mixes is phthalo green. Everybody's going, ah! Yeah, you should. I have great respect for that. And burnt sienna.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So phthalo and BS and TG, shorthand, give you
Yeah,
a
nice.
nice
Yeah.
fir tree color. If you need to darken it, ultramarine blue, which will
Mhm.
gray it, and it won't be quite so green, and it won't
Yep.
be brown, and it won't be blue. That is a great mix.
That's nice. Very nice.
So putting my fir tree on, the water will dissipate some of my intensity, but here is, it's a little on the thick side. You can use orange instead of burnt sienna, but it lightens it considerably.
Mhm.
Poke, 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 poke. I'm going up the tree. Here's my tree.
Mhm.
This is a pokey tree.
Pokey
Poke,
tree.
poke, poke. I am not patting my tree. I am
Yeah, you're
poking
poking.
my tree. Pokey, pokey hunters, pokey what? Um, the reason I'm doing that is to keep some of the overlook feeling where I can see through the tree.
Uh-huh.
And there's my valley, whatever, there's my very soft mountain. A lot of aerial perspective in this very simple format.
Mm.
You can use water in the middle zone, but you have to watch out that you don't get it too dark, saving a lot of the lights. So what an easy little landscape, just going from
Nice.
light to dark, more strong value changes here.
Mhm.
And this is, look at the size of this. It's just a little
Yeah,
4x6 kind of thing.
nice.
And now all that conversation was so that we can make sure that's dry. And now where do I put this? Because it's all soggy on both sides. Oh, dear. Okay, let's do a person. We need a person in this picture. It's very bereft. Figures. Here's just this mix. You've got a round brush. I want you to lay the brush down, and that is the figure from the neck all the way down to the butt, the whole trunk of the body. The head will be just a little doot on top.
Mhm.
And what's he doing?
Yeah.
The arms are going to give you a big hint. Make sure your arms do not come out of the neck. You have, once again, here's just laying the brush down, put the head on top. If the arms come out of the head, it's very clown-like.
Mhm.
Something's wrong with that person.
Mhm.
One needs to sit and draw gestures of figures ad infinitum. I wouldn't start with the head. I would start with the trunk, the body. You can widen it if it's a little bit, has more stature.
Mhm.
Um, the arms can go straight down. The legs can be a W. We call these UOW,
Huh.
UOWs. And the U is an upside down shape.
Mhm.
So here's your U. That's your U. The O is smaller than you think it should be, and the W can go off the page.
Hold it up a teensy bit more. There we go. Oh, there's the W.
So the W are the legs, but they're
Yeah.
squished. They're
Yep.
not open.
Yep.
But if somebody says to you, you need a couple UOWs in that, you'll know what they're talking about.
I do know.
Make them burnt sienna.
Mhm.
That's a naked baby. Here we go, a little burnt sienna. And then arms, go to the elbow, go to the elbow, then fling the hand out and dress them later.
Huh.
So all these little shapes Just
Mm-hmm.
put an outfit on.
Cool.
Put the outfit on after.
Cool.
This guy really looks like he's having a bad day. Let's give him some strange legs.
He still looks like he's having a bad day.
I can't stand seeing the arms coming out of the head, so
That's
I'm
it.
making
That's
fun of
it.
it.
Yeah.
But you can give me any tilt.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that the back of the head carries the balance. So you can
Mm.
have somebody going forward,
Oh,
bending
cool.
forward. The head carries the balance. The
Mhm.
leg that holds him up has to be under the head.
Okay, cool.
That has to be under. So you can have them crouching. You can have them doing strange things,
Hmm.
but the head has to be under the weight bearing snowshoe right there.
Okay.
That is people 101. Everybody should know how to just whip a little person into a picture.
Yeah.
It's really very fun. And so you do it more carefully. You're not being crazy. Here comes putting a person in this painting.
Cool. Now this has to be all the way dry or else it'll run, correct?
Yep, all the way dry. I've got a 4. I think I'll be braver. No, I'll use a 4. This is Cheap Joe's okay, there's the logo. It's
Nylon. Four.
nylon brushes,
Looks like a
and it
4.
is a 4, and this is about $2.39.
Oh, cool.
You can have 10 number 4s if you want. You
Four.
can even let the kids play with them. You can scrub with them.
Okay.
And the nylon bristles, I mean, what if it falls out and you lost it in the woods? Oops.
Yeah, right.
Not,
Absolutely.
it's not going to kill your pocketbook. And
Hmm.
so many people skimp on supplies.
I know.
So you need to find inexpensive, awesome supplies. And these brushes are awesome.
Cool.
Sable brushes are also incredibly wonderful,
Mhm.
but they are super expensive and
Yeah.
um, because they're handmade and they have to come from a sable. So they
Hmm.
only come from Kalinsky sables in Russia, I think. I don't know if they raise the sable anywhere else, but the brush itself is very soft.
Yeah. I actually have some, or I had some because I stopped buying them. They're so expensive that, you clean them really careful. You're too careful with them, actually. So I like what you're using, and they're fine.
They're also soft.
Yes.
if if you work with a soft brush, you have to learn that there's a mop quality. A mop just means if you put it this way, it stays that way. If you put
Yeah.
it this way, it'll stay that way. It just kind of lays
Hmm.
differently, holds different amounts of water. So you have to learn your own brushes. And I'm a nylon brush person. I am just putting water on this.
Okay.
I am looking on the thirds because that's a good place
Hmm.
to go into the woods. And I'm making a little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let it soak. Let it soak in.
So that
I
was
think
just water. You're taking some of the paint
just
off.
water.
Okay.
Taking paint off with simply wetting it. I don't want it white. I want it light.
Hmm.
So here comes another one. Can't walk in the woods alone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What I'm doing is dislodging some of the paint.
Hmm.
I'm rubbing it, and that's my U.
Okay.
So there's a couple of U's going in the woods there.
Hmm.
Use guys. A couple of use guys.
Use guys.
Okay, so they're not real distinct, but that's okay. They
Hmm.
can be over the hill,
Hmm.
meaning they have no legs, or you can drop legs down. And you can go for gray or burnt sienna because you're going to put something on them. So here come the legs, dropping the legs down under each one of the U's. Well, let's have this guy moving. His legs are split. So this is the torso, the trunk,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't see it. I know it's coming. I'm rubbing it again. Rubbing it again. I'll
Mm-hmm.
put a head on them in a minute. Right now, they're the headless horsemen.
Yeah.
So you're also going to know who they are, where they are. Here they are going over the hill.
Oh, cool.
So you make them in light, and then you make the heads light,
Hmm.
and look at the color of the outfits. Big plus.
Yes.
So while you're getting good at lifting, while you're getting good at that, find a dark place and lift off a fence post.
Mm.
Okay, this is the operative noise. Dentist drill.
Dentist drill. Oh, yuck.
So how many fence posts do you want to have? They're going to come out maybe a little bigger than you want them. That's okay. Just make sure that they're larger, closer to the people. How many drills do you want to do? Wet and wipe.
Mm-hmm.
Wet and wipe.
So as you move away from your people, those posts are getting smaller, smaller.
They're getting smaller.
Yeah.
And I have a couple blobs over here, so I'll have to do a little repair work on the blobs. Okay, now I'm out of the woods. I'm over here. They're getting smaller and light against dark, dark against light. Across the middle.
Huh.
Make sure you went across the middle.
Yeah.
So we have light fence posts up here,
Mm-hmm.
and we have dark ones
There. Yeah.
across there. Think they have a dog?
Most likely.
You are a good sport. Let's go for it. Where's that paper?
Where'd that paper go? That is so cool.
Okay, the dog. I can't draw dogs. Yes, you can. No, I've never drawn a dog. You can draw a dog. This is the back of that little wet paper.
Mm-hmm.
Here comes a dog. It's a
Huh.
peanut or a pair of sunglasses.
Yeah.
So there's the general shape. You put a head on the dog. So now it looks like an ant. That includes ears. Get rid of the sway back.
Mm-hmm.
Does the tail stick up? What kind of tail does he have? The knee down here goes forward, and this one, chances are it's going to go the other way, but you won't see much of it. Now, what kind of dog? Is it a floppy-eared dog? Is it, what shape do you want to give this dog? But basically, just start with the peanut. Does he have
Yeah.
2 legs? That's enough. So you want another leg. You can give him another leg. You can have 4 legs. But this is kind of big. We don't want, a dog that big. So you have to use the same principles and just start with pale. I'll put the dog out in front, or no, I'll put him in front. Dogs are always leading the pack. So here goes my peanut. Just 2 little balls that look like a peanut.
Mm-hmm.
Stick the face out, give me the legs, bend the knee in the back so that we get a sense that the legs have contour. He can be tied up with a leash. Why would he be leashed out here? He's not leashed. So there is just the hint of the dog moving out with them.
Nice.
Don't be afraid to do the gesture of a dog. Okay, the people need outfits, and they could use a head too. I'm going to drill a head. I have to, any repeat motion,
Hmm.
if you're painting a house and I mean, literally painting the outside of the house, it is so boring to go back and forth.
Yeah.
Does make a rhythm if you can get a rhythm. It does make a rhythm if you're going scrape and wipe, scrape and wipe. Any repeat motion, say it to yourself, and it really does help. It helps take some of the monotony out of a repeat
Hmm.
animation. These dudes definitely need outfits. Now, what color? I'm gonna put a permanent rose on the lady. I'm having her be the second person. She's slightly smaller. She could be out front, but there's a permanent rose with a little thing on her hat. And the guy, you can be doing this on your own little scrap paper sketchbook. Here he is with his arm sticking out, holding that dog. Their
Hmm.
slacks will be dark. So dark is any dark. The dog I'm going to keep on the light side. I think I ought to look at it. Every so often, you have to literally look at your work.
I just like so amazed that you're doing that whole thing vertically. Mine would be like dripping off the page and on the floor.
Control, big
Yeah.
C word, huge. Okay, I'd like a few more fence posts. I'd like a sense of the field,
Mm-hmm.
but right at the second, I want to jump to, ooh, that's a dark brush. I had a brush with really dark color on it. Blue is cold.
Uh-huh.
Blue is a nice way of indicating the footsteps. Now, I don't want to touch the black of their outfits, but um, are they snowshoeing? What are they? How are they operating? There was that little drop the brush thing that happened.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
more curvilinear you can be, the better. Footprints up close are actually visual. You can see them. And as they go off into the distance, they're not much more than just a touch. Snow shadows. The figures are on the thirds in the page.
Mm-hmm.
One of the subjects that I've painted using this kind of a story is bringing in the tree and having them have a sled behind them with just
Ah,
a little fir tree. What a lovely picture, lovely feeling of a picture.
nice.
So this is not too descriptive. It's just a path. I
Mm-hmm.
put a little purple in it. Kind of. I think I had it on my brush from the figure. Have to work the dog a little more. Now, why did I talk about aerial perspective? Did you notice I jump around a lot? You can't
That's good.
you can't just do it. You need to
Right. You got to look.
forward, back, forward. Be patient with it. Work the entire picture at the same time. So I'm going to spring for cleaner water. My other tofu dish is right here. The clean water, I'm going to make a mountain back there.
Cool.
So now I need gray. I don't really want a blue mountain. So I'm mixing, just like I mixed with this,
Mm-hmm.
I'm mixing a little brown. It could be burnt sienna or burnt umber. Doesn't matter. The red in that will counter the blue in ultra.
Mm-hmm.
And the two of those together make a very nice gray, add a
Nice.
little bit more blue. you're going to get something pretty stone-like.
Yeah.
Count on it. It's one of your basic mixes. When you go to buy big tubes,
Mm-hmm.
make sure ultramarine, you have a big one, and burnt sienna.
Bird
Number
sienna.
one, they're on the lower price category. Don't paint with permanent rose because it's on the higher price category.
Yeah, got it.
Use alizarin, that's a general, but ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, and alizarin crimson, those three, I would say, always have a big tube. Of course, you need the others, but cobalt is very dear as well.
Sure.
Okay, middle of the page. Let's see, middle of the page is probably here.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of gave you a swale in the middle.
Yeah.
Oops. You make mistakes and then you dig your way out. So here's my mountaintop. No, can't be here because they're here. So
Uh-huh.
I have, oh, here, look at it. Just popped up. There's my mountaintop right there.
Nice. Nice.
So the mountaintop, can I see it? Barely. It's kind of a Mount Washington old mountain. I'm coming near to my fuzzy trees, but I'm not really touching them much. I'm just staying on top. This is distance through value. Of course, size too. We know that the mountain is out there. Looks a little lonely. How about a second mountain? How many mountains do you want? Are you in the White Mountains? Are you in Vermont? What's the formation? And these are really just ghosts. I could have
Yeah.
put them on first, but I might not have had the flow of
Mm-hmm.
growing trees. I call it growing, but I
They
do.
certainly did.
And they have that fuzzy, gorgeous, soft look.
Mm-hmm.
Transparency in watercolor is one of the gifts you get.
Mm.
So
Nice.
can you see it? Hardly.
Just
Hardly.
barely.
Yeah, just barely. And
Just
today,
barely. It definitely is a shadow.
yeah, today is a just barely day. I paint generally by the seasons and by the location. So I'm much less abstract. I don't go, shapes are important, but I work the shapes into the landscape of my life at the moment. That's me.
Yeah.
What do
Nice.
you do that makes, these are all decisions. I mean, this is one of the nightmares of being an artist. I'm so tired of making decisions. Oh my goodness. Everything's a decision. You just have to do it. Um, Another brush. Where's that rigor? This side, this whole half is a little bit boring. It just doesn't have much for detail. So dragging trees upward. I'm
Oh,
dragging,
okay.
I'm
Nice.
literally setting a tree in here and pulling it up.
And what do you use in colors? Color.
The same gray, black,
Oh, okay.
but it's less water in it.
Okay.
Deciduous tree, up, 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 subdivide. They don't have to be like this. Ah! If you make a tree that looks scared, like ah, that's ridiculous. But what you can get is a very light feeling.
Hmm.
Every one of these has to subdivide. I can't quite do over the mountain yet because it's still damp.
Hmm.
Up, subdivide, up, subdivide, up, subdivide. Lots of subdivisions. More detail.
Nice.
You can connect these woodsy um, fence posts. You don't want it black, black, black. You just want a little bit of a sense of a line
Hmm.
that connects. This Practice with your
Mhm.
rigger brush and get some delicacy of lift.
Nice.
Up,
Yeah.
up. Never come down with a tree branch. You know, you don't put it at the top of the tree and try to
Yeah.
connect to the tree because your stroke is heavier at the inception. It's
Right.
heavier when it starts.
Right.
And same with shadows, by the way.
Mm.
You have a shadow, shadow is darker and more clear right where it touches the object here. And as it comes away, oh, I could get a good shadow on this.
Yeah.
As it comes away,
Mhm.
it lightens, it softens, it gets a little wider, less formed, definitely lighter. So darker at the inception. Um, I am going to say, telling you about snow shadows, I can't do. I was thinking of that, but it's not a shadow day. So, what do you think?
I think it's absolutely awesome. I think that is so cool. And I mean, you made it look so easy. However, and I actually took notes. I actually took notes while you were doing that. That's absolutely gorgeous. Love it.
When you finish a painting,
Hmm.
sort of.
Sort of.
Sort of. You
Uh-huh.
do, oh, when you're outside, probably about 85%. You don't go into the little tiny articulations
Hmm.
until after, because if this was a scene, I don't really need to depict photographically what I see.
Hmm.
I need to get a feeling, get some of the detail, get the content, but then let it be. Walk away.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. The tendency is to overdevelop pictures, I think.
I think,
Especially if we like it. Oh, gee, I really like that tree. Let me put in another one. Yeah, let me put one over here. I could fit another one over here. So it ends up getting overdeveloped. I call them overdeveloped, but that is
exactly.
beautiful.
Yeah. The continuing the little fence, I think
Hmm.
that's worthy, a couple
Sure,
more at least.
sure.
Perhaps this could be a little denser right in
Hmm.
here with the tree growth, but I don't want to make it so interesting that the first thing you see is this beautiful, lacy, deciduous tree
Right.
forest. And those guys, I want you to focus on them.
Hmm.
Where are
And
they going?
we do, and we do. I mean,
Good.
it's yeah, that darker area is over on that side, and the people are dark enough. There's enough contrast between them and the snow mound that your eye goes right to it. So you absolutely achieved your goal, young lady. That's
Oh,
beautiful.
marvelous.
Yeah,
I
marvelous,
would,
beautiful, beautiful.
I
Okay.
would love to see some of the colors in your grays,
Uh-huh.
not just gray.
Right,
Payne's
right.
gray is a lovely color,
Hmm.
but if you, even Payne's gray, if you mix into it, how about mixing on the page?
Yeah, nice. Great idea.
Give
That's
us a
beautiful.
thrill. I am doing a Zoom for beginner fundamentals where we've done one, two, we've done three so far. The next one in line is on fundamental perspective. Um,
You have a date? When are we doing
uh,
that?
yes, March 13th,
Hmm.
April 10th,
Okay,
and May 8th. Those are 3 Saturday afternoons.
nice.
And all people have to do is just send me a note and you can sign up for one mini lesson. And each one of them is designed to talk to you about, to talk beginning steps,
Nice.
fundamental steps. If you don't have a good vocabulary with your paint, like today, we talked about control and water
Yeah,
vocabulary.
there. I came back. I zoomed right back in.
Hi.
Hi. This was absolutely amazing. Tell people where they can reach you again, my dear. www.dorisrice.com.
That's it.
That's it. Okay. And so if you
On
have,
dorisrice.com is my e-address
uh-huh.
and my phone. You know, if
Okay.
somebody, I don't answer the phone a lot, but I answer
Me
emails.
either. Yeah, yeah. Emails and texts I'm good at.
Good.
This
Good.
is this is absolutely beautiful. We thank you so much, and I totally encourage people to get on your website. And I'm thinking class trip. I want to go on one of those. That's awesome.
There's
Very
nothing
good.
like Italy. Italy's so great.
I have not been there. My auntie has because our family is of Italian descent. So I absolutely want to go. Totally. Thank you so much, my dear.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank
Hope to
you.
meet you in person.
Absolutely. Pretty soon we'll be able to meet in person. Bye for now.